Hi, my name is Lauren Burke, and I am the founder of the Possible Lab, where I consult with founders of nonprofits and social impact organizations to help them with their work. I am also the founder of NoteHouse, a case management platform for nonprofits, schools, basically anybody who's sponsoring today's video. And I decided that I would release some of the tools and templates and organizational hacks that I've used over the years to help me start my different nonprofits that I've begun or programs that I've led, in part because I think that changing the world is a group project. And so if anything I've ever made could be useful for you all, I want to share it. The one we are working on right now is a budgeting template specifically about cash flow. So you can project where your income is going for the year and where you will be and make adjustments as necessary. Because even if you have something like an accountant or a bookkeeper, it is really great as the leader of an organization, or you can even just do this as part of a program. You can do this as a solo entrepreneur for your own budgeting purposes. It's just good to have an idea of like where you're going. And so I created this with Alex La Torre, an incredible human who I ran Camp Equity with during the pandemic. I've shared it with some folks and they've said it was useful. So hopefully it will be useful for you. So let's get started. I will be including the link to this template in the description of the YouTube video. And so you can always just make a copy of it, but I wanted to walk you through how I did it as well. All right, so the first thing that's really important is when you are titling your documents, you always want to have today's date. Today's the 25th at the top, and you can change this date. So if somebody goes in and edits it, you'll know like, okay, who was the last person to do it? All right, so here's our Google Sheet. Love a Google Sheet. What we are going to do is we are going to create two sections, and I'm going to use alternating colors. The top is going to be our expenses, so I'm going to put that in pink, and then the bottom is going to be income. Don't worry about how many lines that you have right now. You can always change them. I'm a big fan of just getting going and getting started and then editing. Oops, this doesn't need to be there. And then editing later, because otherwise you'll get stuck in your head being like, wait, exactly how many columns do I need? Okay, so this is going to be expenses and this is going to be income. Now, what we're going to do, I'm just going to do this for 6 months, so not have to show you the whole thing. Each month is going to have two different columns. And so we're going to have January projected and January actual. I'm going to call them act and proj. January. You know what? I'm going to pause so I can fill the rest of this out. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So as you can see, I've now filled out the entirety of it. I got lazy and just wrote A and P for actual and projected. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these columns and I'm going to change them to dollar signs. So that means now that if I enter a number, it will automatically convert it to dollars, which makes it really nice. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is I'm going to think, what are the categories of my expenses that I have at this business? So I am going to do a category of payroll. I'm going to do a category of programs. I'm going to do a category of benefits and taxes, which some people might put in payroll. I keep it separate, which I'll talk about in a second, but you can put, you know what, let's just put it in payroll to be the same. See, it's live, folks. Payroll and benefits and taxes. Let's say I'm going to have contractors. Let's say I'll do tech needs. Let's say I'm going to do staff development / fun. Very important to always have fun. And then I'm going to have a column for miscellaneous. And I think that's enough to show you all this. So I'm going to actually delete the rest of the columns. So that's the sort of thing. So we don't have to, stress about it. Okay. So what I'm going to do for each of these categories now, I'm going to move this my face so I can see, is I'm going to create a sheet for each of the different categories. And so I'm going to call this overview. And then I'm going to have a sheet for payroll. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this top so that, boop, we have it in there. Much easier solution. What color do I want to make payroll? Let's make payroll blue. Oops. And I'm going to go to L20. There we go. Okay. So these are my payroll expenses. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write, oh, and I remember we're going to select all the columns and change it to a dollar sign. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write out all the payroll expenses that I have. So what I would probably first do is just do all my staff. Lauren, Alex, I'm going to just pretend this is for Camp Equity. And so I'm just going to put some of our counselor names in here. Shout out to any Camp Equity counselors that are watching this. Okay, so, or people. So let's say that each of us makes $5,000 a month. Now, obviously, you know, whoops, Alex, sorry, I wish you were making $50,000 a month. So you're going to put in your 5,000 for every person for the month. Obviously, if there's different amounts, it will be different. And I know they're going to get the same payrolls pretty easy because it's, you know, pretty much the same every month. Nope, I mixed. You know what? Look at that. I'm missing. Insert one column, right? I missed February actual. I'm so sorry that I missed you. Okay, February actual. Showing you behind the scenes realness, friends. All right, I could tell something was off. I was like, why is that column? We should end up with an empty column. All right. Now, June projected. Okay. So then what we're going to do is I will do staff total and equals and the sum. And I'm going to do that for every single column. I'm going to pause so you don't have to see me do all of that. And there we go. Now we got, as you'll see, we've got all these totals. I'm going to bold this line so you can see it better. Let's say now that we know that our benefits are a percentage of what we pay out in salary. So, you know, obviously the specifics of this work with your actual specifics, but I'm just going to do that. So let's say this is 5% of our monthly total. So sum equals this times 0.05. That'll give you that. So again, I'm going to do that same formula for each of these. And luckily I'm pointing as if you can see me pointing at the screen, but you'll see Google will automatically give you that. So you know what, I can just do it. And while we're talking. Okay. Let's say I also, benefits, I meant taxes, friends, taxes. And let's say for benefits, for each person that I have on staff, I give them $500 a month for benefits. So that's 500 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, doesn't that work out so nicely? So I know that's going to be $3,000 a month. And I'm going to enter that in each one. Okay. Excuse me. So we then are going to do our total. Now the total number is not, do not copy the whole thing because then you will have the staff counted twice, but I'm just going to do staff, taxes, and benefits. And I'm going to do that for every month. Oops, equals sum of these three. All right, I'm going to pause while I finish that. Okay, so now you'll see that I have my monthly projected total for every month for the payroll line. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to overview and I'm going to take the January projected payroll equals the sum of, and then I click on the payroll tab and I go down to this total for January, close the parentheses, bam. So I've got it right there. So I'm going to do the same thing with February, equals sum, open parentheses, go to payroll, click on, whoops, open sum, go to payroll, click on the February. There we go. I'm going to pause while I finish that out for all the months. Okay, so now you see I have my projected payroll costs for the year for each month. So we're basically going to do that same thing with each of these different category lines that we have. So in order to make it easier, I'm just going to duplicate the payroll sheet. And this next one is programs. And because that way all my formulas will already be set up, which is really nice. And I would just always recommend changing the color so that it's just easier to distinguish. Oops. I highlighted the video instead of the color, which you do by highlighting, format, alternating colors, programs. Let's make programs purple. Okay, and then let's say my programs, let's say are legal, leadership, yoga, mentoring. I don't know, I'm making things up. Now, you could have like mini spreadsheets to mini spreadsheets to mini spreadsheets, right? Or what you could actually, you know what? I'll show you how I would do this. So, like, let's say I'm going to do legal expenses. And let's say under legal expenses, I have office supplies, filing fees, and I don't know, paper. Okay. Then let's say I have like a college program. And let's say under the college program, I have stipends, MetroCard, shout out to people in New York City. Okay, that's just what I'm going to do, just to make it easier. And then let's say I have a book club, shout out to Allison, who ran our book club at Atlas. And let's say I have books and snacks. Now, I need another line. So instead of creating another line, I need a couple other lines actually. See, I'm just doing while we're doing. And I enter it above because then this total will still, will it? Will it still have the sums? I don't know. I'll redo the sums if I need be. It's no big deal. Okay. So sorry, I did legal, and then I need to do insert what above, legal total. Then we've got college. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. College total, whoops. And then book club. Now, you could also say you are overseeing a few different departments and you need each department to give you their program budget, and that way you wouldn't have to do a breakdown like this, or you could have like more spreadsheets with more breakdowns. But for this instance, I'm just going to show you how I do it all in one. I'm just going to call it book total. Okay, so then let's say, and I'm just using really easy numbers, y'all. Let's say I'm going to spend, oops, did we go through? Friends, did we go through and make it dollars? There we go. Okay. So let's say I spend 100 in office supplies. Let's say for January, I'm going to spend 1,000. And then I'm going to estimate I'm just going to spend 50 every other month because hopefully I just spent what I need at the beginning. Then let's say filing fees. I'm going to estimate we're going to spend 750 a month. But let's say, oh, in April, I know we have a bunch of renewals coming in. So I think that's going to be more. May, let's say, is going to be less, and then June we'll have more again. I'm just trying to show you that it doesn't have to be the same every month. And I'm going to spend $2,000 on paper, sorry, trees, at the beginning of the month, and then I'm going to estimate I won't have to spend any more this quarter. I mean, half year. Okay, so then for the total, we're going back in and we're doing sum of that. Sum of that. You'll see Google's giving me it, and I could just be easier about it. But I always forget to do it, and then I press the key, and then it's gone. You can just fast forward through this part if it's boring, and I'll pause for the next one. Okay. So I'm just gonna do that for all the remaining categories, but my totals I'm gonna make bold. There we go. So give me a minute. I'm gonna fill out these categories. Okay, so I've filled the rest of it out. So you'll see, for example, the college program ends in March. So there aren't any expenses for stipends for April, May, and June. But let's say we're still giving out Metro cards for people to come to the office. Books, the book club, we're spending a lot of money at the beginning of the year. And then for snacks, we're doing it every single month. So now I've got all my months projected. And so then I'm going to do my totals. And when I do my totals this time, I'm going to do sum of, and then we'll click on each of the total tabs. Because again, if we do the whole thing, then it will be the whole thing. So January, for example, my projected program costs are $19,000. My projected costs for February are $6,000. As I'm going through this, I also just want to note that too often we talk about salary overhead as something separate from programs. And a lot of funders will want to show that you have like a high program cost and low overhead cost. And I think that's really problematic because obviously we need people to make programs run, and the nonprofit industrial sector is problematic and we need to do better. And so this is not what the budget is that I would show a funder, for example, unless they wanted to see my cash flow budget. I would create a budget for a funder, and maybe if people want those sort of videos, I'll show you what I would do, where I actually, as a program cost, I would use a percentage of that staff person's salary who's like running these programs. And I would put that as direct program cost as a way to boost up my program numbers in a way that's actual, but also to encourage folks to pay for staff. That's a whole other conversation, but I just wanted to make sure I noted that. Okay, we've got our program totals now. And so we're going to do what we did before. We're going back. So I'm going to be honest with you all. For some reason, it wasn't working. So I just went ahead and Googled, and we're back. What I learned from my Googling, because it wasn't easily pulling, was that what you want to do is you want to write equals, sorry, not sum, I'm just used to doing that, then the name of the spreadsheet you're pulling from, exclamation point, and then the column. So I looked at this and I said, oh, okay, it's B17, D17, F7, so it just skips. So I'm going to just fill that out. So this one is, whoop, not sum, program. Oh, look. Oh, thank you, Google. I love, don't we just, God bless Google spreadsheets for just knowing exactly what it was that I wanted. I'm obviously going to check this too. Okay, so let's see. June was 2,900. Let's check and make sure. June 2,900. Ah, love Google spreadsheets. Okay, so now I've got that. I'm going to do the same thing for contractors, tech needs, staff development and fun, and miscellaneous. I'm going to pause again while I'm doing that, not so you don't have to bear with me, but how I'm going to do it as a reminder is I'm going to, if it's something that I'm going to break down, I'll copy the program sheet since I already have that template set. If it's something that's just going to be a running list, I'm going to copy the payroll sheet. For ease, I'm just going to make all of these running lists. So I'm just going to duplicate the payroll spreadsheet. And for example, this one will be contractors. And I'll be back in a jiffy, friends, to show you how I did it. Okay, you will now see that I have finished all the lines. I just got rid of staff development fun and just put it miscellaneous. And you'll see, you know, for example, birthdays, potluck, office supplies. I always suggest having a miscellaneous tab so that you don't have to like pull your hair out figuring out what category does that go into. Reminder, this is a cash flow document for you. So this is for you to understand. Send it to your accountant later on so they can figure out if you want. But again, I really think you as the leader, founder, owner, whatever it is, like is important that you have something that you totally get and can feel full grasp over. Okay, so we have all our totals. We've got our tech things in here, like Notehouse, Slack, Zoom, all that. Contractors, these are all real contractors, friends. If you need a graphic designer, go to World Media. If you need communications, go to KQ Comms. If you need anything tech, coding, developing, go to BCP. Anyways, I'm just shouting out places I really love. And yeah, we already did programs. Okay, so now I've got our overview, and then we're going to do our total expenses line. And here we are just going to easily do our sums. And Google, I am sure, will suggest for us. Thank you, Google. Thank you, the goddess that is Google Spreadsheets. Okay. All right, and we are going to bold those babies up. So this shows us how much I am projected to spend each month. Great. We're 1/4 of the way there. This is a long video. Okay, so now we're going to do the same for income that we did for expenses. I'm just going to make this easy. So I'm going to do this for grants. I'm going to pretend this is a nonprofit, and then individual donations. Now you can, you know, again, have as many categories, earned income, do as many as you want, but I'm just going to try to make this a little shorter and a little sweeter so we don't have to watch the whole thing. I am going to make another duplication of this, vary into the tabs, and this will be grants. And then instead of expenses, we're going to label this as income. Whoops. Income. And let's think of some grantors that we love. Let's do JMK. Let's do Echoing Green. Their applications are open right now. Let's do Ford. Let's do Emerson Collective. These are just some funders that I know that exist in the world. And let's do NYCT. Okay, let's hope that JMK is going to give us a 50K grant in January. Nothing for the rest. Oh, this is really important. When you are doing your income, be sure to only put it in when you will have the check in your account on the first of the month. So let's say I am pretty sure JMK is going to give me a grant of 50K in January. However, I'm not going to actually get the check until February. So I'm actually going to put it in February, and I'm going to make a note of that. And I'm going to say expected to receive check in mail by Jan 21st. And the importance of this is a cash flow document, right? And so if I were to put it in January, I would make it seem like I'm going to have that cash in January, which if I don't, big problem potentially for cash flow. Let's say that I hope I'm going to get a grant from Echoing Green for $75,000. In March, let's say for Ford, this is a little bit different, right? Because a lot of grants aren't going to give you, but we could say, okay, Ford is going to give us 10K every month. And you'll see my formulas are already set up. So they're just pounding in below, which is really nice. Let's say Emerson Collective is going to give us a $100,000 check. Thanks, Emerson Collective. We appreciate it in my fictional organization. And let's say NYCT is going to give us a check in April for 50. Okay, so this now shows us how much money I'm going to be getting every month from grant funders. And so we're going to go back to our overview. Wait, let me remember first. Okay, B8. And again, I would do comments for all of these. Just be like, this one, we think we're going to get it. There's a whole other thing that I could do. I could make another, there's so many videos I can make about how you calculate your potential grant income based upon the percentage of you think the likelihood that that grant is going to be. If you want me to make that kind of video, let me know in the responses and maybe I'll make that one too, but I'm just starting simple with y'all. But again, for cash flow purposes, you really want to make sure that this is stuff that you're pretty positive you're going to get. I forgot. I just said I was going to look at it and it didn't. Okay, B8, because now we've learned our hack equals grants B8. There was a problem. Oh, because I didn't open parentheses. Boop. Equals grants E8 equals grants F8. Oops, I didn't do an exclamation point. Okay, I'm going to pause and finish this out. Okay, so now I've filled in my grants for the month. I'm going to just make this a little smaller, so because it doesn't need to take up that home space, and then it'll be visually much prettier because I'll fit it in one screen. Okay, and then we're going to do the same with individual donations. Oh, let me make the grants a different color just so it's not the same as the last tab for ease. Okay, individual donations, duplicate. I'm going to call it end just because that'll be easier for when we're doing the exclamation thing. Change the color. I didn't mean to do that. Thanks for bearing with me, friends. Okay, let's make it this pretty green. Great. So let's say for individual donations now, and I'm just deleting all of this, we're going to do monthly recurring. Let's say we get like 1,000 in monthly recurring. I will say I was not great at raising individual donations. I've never been great at it, but like good for you if you can do that. Let's say we're going to have a Galentine's event. Now remember, we're only going to put in the month that we're getting it. So even that it's in our bank for the first. So even though we might get it in February, let's say it's not going to be in our bank account until then. And I'm going to put a note in here that says, hope to raise 10K on event on Feb 13th. If you don't know what Valentine's Day is, please go watch Parks and Recreation. Okay, and then obviously the rest, you don't even have to put in the zeros, so we'll just do it. Let's say we're going to have a May Day fundraiser. And then we'll just do online donations. Our May Day fundraiser will be what month will we have the money? June. That's right, friends. Oops, that would be great if we raised 100, but we're just going to say 10. And then online donations, let's say we don't know. Let's say we're going to hope for this. We're going to hope for that. We're going to hope for this. We're going to hope for that. We're going to hope for that. Okay, great. So you all know what to do. What line? 8. I think they're just all 8. I mean, that makes it really easy. So equals end exclamation point B8 equals end exclamation. Oh, thank you, Google. Thank you. I don't know why it doesn't always do it. Like, it would be nice if it always did it, wouldn't it? There we go. Okay. Woo, friends, we're almost there. Total income. You could also do miscellaneous. I'm not going to do it right now. Equals sum. And I think it shows like this is taking me a bit of time, but you will see how easy. I feel like I'm doing like a cooking show. It does take a bit to cook. But anyways, you will see how easy that this will make your budgeting for you moving forward. And it is so worth. I can't tell you how many times I wish that I had just like taken the time back in the day to do things. Okay, great. We have our income and our expenses. Okay, now that we have our expenses for the year laid out and we've got our income for the year laid out, now we actually have to see how we're doing for our cash flow. So the last piece that we have to do for our cash flow is to do bank balance. Now your bank balance is going to take into account like how much money you had at the start of the year, let's say. And remember, this is how much money is in your bank account on the 1st, so not how much will be put in throughout the year. Now I'm only going to be doing January right now, and you will see why. All right, I'm going to bold these lines so they're all bolded. Also, sometimes you might want to go in and make that bright pink, and go and make this one bright green. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we are doing bank balance plus income. Whoa, I didn't want it to be the sum. Okay, plus income minus expenses. And then I'm going to just do a line end of month balance. All right, so I'm going to middle finger. So we have our bank balance, and we are going to do our income is. I'm laughing. Okay, I really, this is my first time recording a video like this, and I'm doing it in one shot. I'm trying to do it in one shot, and I'm just realizing, okay, I'm learning that maybe I need to take breaks. Okay, but we have our bank balance of 50 plus our income. So we are going to do equal sum of 50 plus the income total for the month, which is 11,000, right? And then we're doing this minus expenses. So we're doing equal sum of income minus total expenses. So this means our end of month balance equals minus 1,561. So that would show us we have a cash flow issue, right? And that's why this is really useful. For the purposes of this document, I'm just going to be like, oh, just kidding. We had 55,000 in our bank. So that's how you're going to get your end of month balance. It's the same as like minus expenses, but that's just like a way to make it easier. What you could also do is pull the numbers down. But anyways, I just like it this way, even though some people might be like, that's repetitive, but who cares? Then your end of month balance is what gets pulled. Okay, so now what we're going to do for the beginning of each month is we are going to pull that end of month balance up to the top, and then we are going to do equals sum of bank balance or end of month balance, which should be what's in your bank, right? Because it's all that's going to be taken out that month and all that's going to be put in that month. And that's why we say what's going to be there by the first of the month. Right. Okay, great. So bank balance plus income equals sum of income minus expenses. There we go. And we know that this number pulls from right there. And I'm just going to walk you through it because this, I know you can take a second and be like, wait, what is this? Equals the end of month balance, right? That's a bank balance. And then every month we're just going to do equals the sum of the bank balance plus income. And, there is a way to even make this like easier. You could just do equal sum of this minus this. But again, this is for you. So it's really in your head of like, how did this come up with it? Because, we are overseeing a lot when we are running organizations, and it is no joke. And so to whatever extent you need to or want to just break things down, I really can't tell you how much I encourage that. Don't make yourself feel like you have to be all super fancy. Okay, minus. Oops, no, plus. Whoa, plus. Look at our bank account grow. It's so exciting. Our fictional little organization is so healthy and doing really well. I think, at least. I think it's crazy when people are like, oh, you need this many months of runway. And I'm like, excuse me. We are a startup, but it's great if you have that. I'm just going to continue through this. Is that we're almost there? What am I doing? Bank account plus income that month equals income minus expenses equals sum up right there. Ta-da! Is the first half of how we do our cash flow spreadsheet. But I'm going to show you next how, this video has become very long, I'm going to show you next how you actually do your reconciliation. But before I do that, because this is sponsored by NoteHouse, I'm going to take 2 seconds to show you NoteHouse. Basically, NoteHouse is a system that I created as a case management platform for nonprofits. It's really simple. It's really easy. It's really affordable. It starts at just $5 a month. But basically how it works is, you open up a case. These are all obviously if you've watched Mad Men, you know that Biff Draper is fake. And you can open it up and you can have at a glance their notes, their general information, where you can put in things like their address. There's ways that you can customize fields. So all these you can create whatever you want to track at your organization. And they will all show up right there. These are clickable. You can set alerts, and then it just takes your notes. And when you enter a note, it says the name of the person who took it, who entered it, so you can cross-share notes across team. The other really cool thing that you can do is you can create your own tags. So say this is a high school. You can tag things like the boroughs that they live in, how they identify, different foundations that they've gotten, different outcomes that they've done. And then you can really easily, this is the demo account, so it takes a second because I have like thousands of entries. But then you can easily just sort and see your cases. So if I want to see, for example, all the students who are graduating in the year 2021, which already happened, then I can easily pull that up. I can also do 2021 who also play basketball. There might not be any, but we'll see. And you can search based on students who are assigned to you or who are assigned to everybody. And you can do things like keyword search. So I'm going to clear my search filters. And I'm going to look for the word court and see clients that have the word court that pop up in their case records. So yeah, that's NoteHouse. That's my little 30-second advertisement. Check it out at www.getnotehouse.com. Now let's go back to the cash flow. Okay, so we are back here with our cash flow. And what we are going to do now is to show you how you would do a reconciliation. Now, I really, really highly recommend you to be doing your reconciliations as the month happens itself. It can be hard to do it at the end of the month, except for things obviously that are being tallied up at the end of the month. But for example, like what I would do, I'm gonna hide that little window, is if I have a miscellaneous expense during the year, so this is our actual, right? We're gonna keep the projected as it is. But if I have, like, let's say, like, I had a new staff member and I didn't know their birthday was in January, and I would maybe put it down and then say this is every day. I'm gonna do like 25, right? Because then it's indicating that I'm doing this on the 25th. Oh, that's the year. Sorry. Saying this is the 25th, right? It's the 23rd. Then I would just indicate that I've changed it. I would then also do a note. So you can add like added birthday expense from January 10th. And then you can put in the amount, like $50. And then the next person would be like added expense from January 25th, $50. So that's how you can, keep adding to one thing. You could also do it at the end of the month, just making sure you keep all the receipts, but those are just two different ways to go about doing it. Let's say our potluck only ended up being $75. And let's say we ended up spending $750 on office supplies because I'm going to make a note, right? Because that's like a big difference. Printer broke. We always have broken printers at Atlas. Printer broke. But let's say now it is the end of the month. I've reconciled the whole thing. I'm going to drop those numbers in. I see it's 925. Then I'm not going to do the whole month, right? I mean, the whole rest of the year, because this is actual for the end of January. So we're pretending it's like February 2nd. And so let's say I've done 925. I'm going to go back to my overview. And once this is done, I'm going to do equals. I have to remember what tab we were just doing. We were doing tech, right? No, we were doing miscellaneous. Thanks, friends. Okay, so miscellaneous C4 equals miss exclamation point C4. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing. Let's say my payroll ended up being exactly that same. Again, you would want to actually reconcile this. Please don't ever just copy and paste. Do as I say, not as I do. So I'm going to do the same. Well, what number was it? C13 equals pay. Oh, thank you, Google Docs. Okay, programs. Again, let's say it's the end of the month, and office supplies, we ended up spending less than we thought. We ended up spending 500. Filing fees, we ended up spending more. You're not going to go back and change your projections. I just need to say that so many times, because what ends up happening is people will go back and change their projections, but you want to keep that because you want to see for the next year, like, were our projections on, were our projections off, that sort of thing. And then legal total. Right? Nope, I'm not going to autofill. Stipends. Let's say, we actually had a couple more young people sign up. So this is actually important. So like, let's say that we're going to do 500 stipends per person, but we had a few more young people come and we really wanted to let them into the program. So instead of 10, which would be 5,000, we are going to have 15, which would be 7,500. I'm then going to make a comment, right, that says, ended up selecting 15 participants. So increasing total to 7,500 and increasing for remaining months. I'm going to put the date, January 15th, that we did that. And then what I'm going to do here, I said don't change the projections, but what I mean by don't change the projections is, I mean, don't change the projection that you had for that month once you see that it was different by the end of the month. However, once you do know that a projection is going to be different for the whole rest of the year, you do want to make that change, because otherwise it will mess up your cash flow moving forward. And I'm going to make comments on those. Please make all the comments in the world, because even though you think you might remember something, you might not. And then if something ever happens to you, somebody will be able to read the spreadsheet and see the comments, right? Which makes it great. So you'll see now that because I made those changes in the projections, it will automatically go forward and adjust, right? Do we remember how this number was a little bit different before? I think it was 128. Watch it not have been different, but Okay, I'm going to show you how it's different. This says 55342. And I'm going to change programs. I'm just going to up it. I'm going to take it back then. Let's say I up it to 10,000. I'm going to go to overview. See 52842. Phew. So it does change. I just wanted to show you that that's why it's dynamic, and that's why you take time to set it all up, because then it's like feels very magical once it's all done. Okay, where were we? We were at programs. All right, so I'm going to finish filling out my programs. That ended up being the same. Let's say these two. This ended up being the same. Let's say this ended up being 105. Okay. Remember, we're adding up these totals. Okay, 30. C17. So we go back here, overview programs equals, oops, programs. 17. Damn, I'm going to double check that that's right. It is. Amazing. Okay, and then contractors and tech needs, I'm going to go finish those. I'll be back. Okay, so I have now pulled these numbers. And so now I have my January actual expenses. So I've got 104. So I projected. Why is that so far off? Hold on. So this is good. Then you're like, whoa, what happened? I see what happened. I did what I told you not to do. Look at this, friends. So I did the total, I did the whole column, but I don't want to do the whole column, right? Because we already added up the staff total, because that's how we got the percentages for the other ones. There we go. Okay, makes it better. I was like, how did that happen? And remember, we upped the amount for programs, but I want to double check this too. Again, I'm not afraid of showing y'all that I mess up sometimes. Oh yeah, the legal total, remember we had to get, oh, I meant to do this for 1,000. I was like, gosh, why was that so different? Right, the 500 was for the printer. Okay, that's much more reasonable. But this is why, we have it and we play with it, right? And we double check. Alex and I, shout out to Alex at Camp Equity, we would let's be honest, would double and triple check these. And so, because the first few times you're going to get into a flow, but if something looks off, then you want to really check into it and see it. But now we've got our expenses. We are just a few $1,000s off. We have to see if our income is going to make us still have that balance. Because remember, we only had this very little end of month balance to be available to us. And so if we spent too much over during the month, then we might be really screwed. And so this might be a month where if you see oh my gosh, I'm only going to have $3,000 left at the end of the month, that you might want to really tighten your belt. And so you probably wouldn't have made that decision to up the number of participants in your program. But let's see, maybe instead what happened was because you upped the number of participants in your program, Ford, let's say they were the ones paying for the program. Let's say that they gave you an additional $5,000 because you contacted Ford, which, friends, I really suggest you do this. And you said to them, we have more participants than we thought, and we really think they're deserving. Can you give us more money? And a lot of places might do that if you have a reason. Don't be afraid to ask. We're too afraid of power dynamics in nonprofit structures, and that could be a whole other conversation. Okay, so now we'll say we got $15,000. That's C8. So I'm going to pull that equals grants, C8. All right, and then let's say for individual donations, I also told somebody else about this great program, and they were really excited about it. So we got our 1,000 in monthly recurring, and then we actually had somebody make another $1,000 donation online because they heard about that cool new program that we were giving out stipends for, and that is also C8. So overview equals end C8, thank you Google, equals sum of these two. Up. Okay, now we have our bank balance. Our bank balance was going to be the same because remember that's from December 31st. We'd be doing our January 1st. I don't know why I'm doing equaling sum because it's just the number. Okay, and then we're going to do this sum again. So equals sum of the bank balance plus income equals, and then so 72 equals the sum of our 72 minus our expenses. And then we have here, which is the same number. Now, this is interesting, friends. Remember how we initially pulled this number, this 3439 number from this column? We actually now are going to pull it from this second column. Once our books are closed for that month, you want to then re-reconcile what the bank account balance is. And the reason you do that here, right, instead of here, and this will always, so the bank balance actual should always be the same as the bank balance projected, because you should know before the beginning, like once the month is closed, I mean. Okay, I hope this makes sense. You're going to pull your projected from the actual at the end of the month, because that will update the remainder of your cash flow, right? Because this document, again, is showing me, do I have enough money every month to do what I'm carried out? Do I need to raise more? Do I not need to raise more? Like, let's say that I just found out that Ford Foundation is going to stop their funding in, let's say, March. They're not going to do the month of March. Now, then I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to see, oh, that wasn't enough to show a difference. Okay, let's go back, Lauren. Let's say Echoing Green is going to take away their money in March. So I'm going to go back and then I'll see, shoot, I'm at a negative then for the months of March and April. I get back into the green again in May and June. But that means that I wouldn't be able to like pay, because I have big money coming in, but that means I wouldn't be able to like pay my folks those months, which would be really bad, obviously. And so that's why this document is really helpful and really important, because as you're learning things and updating things, you can automatically put it in and see how that changes things. Now, we also at Camp Equity had a document that was like closed, and then we had another copy of it that was like for playing around, where I could be like, what if we get $250,000, or what if we get no money? So I would suggest doing that too. But that's how this document really is filled. I'm going to go back and change that though, because in this scenario, we do have that money. But back to this, the reason then that you want to pull our February projected from actual is because that's going to update the remainder of the cash flow sheet, and these follow the numbers. So I'm going to now pull it from here once we have it. Ta-da! And once I have my February actual, let's say, then I would change this formula to pull from the end of month balance, and I would continue on. If you want, you can even have something like current balance at end of cash flow statement. And then you can just pull something like this from there. And that is just like, if you want to just be like, where are we gonna be at in general? That would be a useful thing to have. But that is easy cash flow budgeting. I will include the link to this document down below as a comment only document. So what you can just do is you can go to file and make a copy and make your own copy for your organization, or you can follow to make it was by scratch, like the way I did. I hope this was useful. Please check out my website, thepauselab.com. Please check out Notehouse. This video was made thanks to Notehouse, with the help of Notehouse subscribers, and I hope you enjoy. If you do, tell me what other videos you want me to make. That's what YouTube people say, right?